Steve Juice, just a long-haired freaky dude. Thank you for watching a Bacon Jake production. Today I'm going to show you how to make the most American dessert ever. The apple pie. Maybe apples don't come from America, but you know, nothing rings more American like apple pie nonetheless. To start, we gotta know the most important ingredient here. We gotta know what the apples are gonna be. Now, is there one single apple pie apple that fits perfectly into the pie? No. That's why you gotta use a combination of apples. Now, for your apple pie, you can work with your own combinations here, see what you like best. Personally, this is a combination which I find to be pretty good for apple pies. We have 6 apples here, 2 of which are Honeycrisp for sweetness, 2 of which are Granny Smith for a bit of a tang, and then we have 1 Golden Delicious here for texture, nice crispy texture, and then we have a Braeburn here just as an oddity, you know, throw him in there. Alright, next ingredient we need is a lime, half cup of sugar, 3 heaping gigantic tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of apple jelly. Use homemade if you have homemade, but Smucker's works just as fine. A tablespoon of apple cider. Again, homemade is nice, but store-bought is also okay. And half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of grains of paradise. Now, why are we using this? Because apples, well, the seasoning that you usually think of apples, you know, cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, those don't really naturally go with apples. Those naturally go with pumpkin. Apples originate probably from around Kazakhstan, so we're going to want to use a natural spice from that area. Grains of paradise is a natural spice. If you don't have grains of paradise, a substitute of curry will work just as fine. You will also need 2 pie crusts, preferably Applejack pie crust, which I show you how to make in this link right here. Now begins arguably the most funnest part of making apple pie. Peeling the apples. Just take your apple peeler or your potato peeler and just whoosh all the way down. Get all that skin off there. This will do no good in the pie. Now maybe you have a recipe to do something with apple skins, by all means use it. But I mean, you can just throw them away if you really want to. And you're going to do that with your entire apple supply. Once you get the hang of it, it doesn't really take all that long. Alright, and if there's a little skin around the core, that's fine too. Once all of your apples are naked, it's time to start dismembering them and cutting them up. And here's one of the greatest tools in the world for doing that, an apple core. You just center the apple core into that little ring on the apple core and apply pressure and push down it. Boom! You got your apple slices and you got the core out of the way. It really is a magical device. Now just take your apple wedges, make sure that there's no parts of the core in there, and if they're good, there's no skin on them either, chuck them into a bowl and you are done with them. But like this piece right here, that has a little bit of skin on it, so you just want to cut that off. Okay, and you're going to do that with all of your apples. Once you have your apples cored, make sure to have a large bowl with a colander in it at the ready. Now, take 1/4 cup of your half cup of sugar and pour that over your apple slices. And you're going to toss that together. Yeah, it was a fail. Alright. Now, just generally toss them. You can toss them once you get them into the larger bowl in the colander. And once they're in here, you're going to be harvesting some of that liquid. The sugar will bring out some of that liquid. Okay. After an hour and a half, after an hour and a half has elapsed, you're going to take this yummy juice which has developed from your apples. You're going to pour that into a small saucepan and simmer on medium heat until it's reduced to about 2 tablespoons. Just going to let that simmer for a few minutes. Okay, now that it's been reduced to about 2 tablespoons, you'll want to remove it from the heat. Just let it set there. We're going to brush this stuff on the pie crust later on. Now, we're going to come over here and dump our apples into the bowl that the juice came from. And we're going to add our ½ cup of sugar, our 3 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of jelly, tablespoon of apple cider, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and we're going to squeeze 1 wedge of lime into there, and crack about 1/4 teaspoon grains of paradise into here, or curry if that's what you chose to use. Once you got all that in there, you're going to use your hands. Yes, your hands. There's no other better tool for this than your hands. You're just going to toss that all together. Good fun, right? Now that we've got the apples and the apple juice all done, we're going to let that set to the side and start rolling out the dough. Before we get the dough rolled out, let's select our type of pie pan. Your typical pie pan is nice, but for an apple pie, it tends to crumble whenever you try to scoop it out. Here's a magical device called a tart pan, which has a bottom that lifts out. So whenever you want to remove your pie, all you got to do is push the bottom up, and your pie comes out, and the sides are intact. It's a really cool device. You can find them at usually at Walmart, a Target, or your local food supply store. So I suggest you find one of these if you want to make an apple pie. Also has the ridges all nice and shaped out for you to shape the pie crust. And now in this clip I'm going to show you how to put the pie crust into the tart pan. Alright, now that our dough has chilled, we're ready to roll it out. And whenever you roll it out, no need to take it out of the bag. You can just leave it in there, start rolling it out in the bag. If when rolling this dough out you think that it's a bit too crumbly, you can just throw a few sprinkles of water or Applejack into there to firm it together. Once you got the dough filled out in the bag, it's time for the magical part to happen. No need to difficultly try to sling that dough in there without breaking it. Just cut away the edges of the bag. Like so. Peel that back. Have your pie pan at the ready. Wrap it around there, and flip. And boom, you have your pie crust right into your pie pan at the ready. Isn't it beautiful? Then you just peel the bag away, and it should plop in there nice and set. There will be some pieces left on the bag, and of course because the bag is square and your pie pan is circle, you have to fill in some parts. But otherwise, it'll turn out nicely shaped. Just do some patchwork here and it'll look nice and pretty. Okay, now you're going to need this nifty little doohickey called a pie bird. You can find these at your antique store or probably on your grandmother's shelf. And what they do is they are placed in the center of the pie, and they release excess air which builds up, which prevents your pie from looking like a gigantic bulging tent. So it is necessary to have one of these for an apple pie. If you don't have a pie bird, you could try to shape something similar out of aluminum foil, but it won't be as good. The apples will probably stick to the foil and such. You need something ceramic like this pie bird. If you're trying to make one, see it starts out large right here, then it gets narrow to the point at the top. And we're going to shape the apples and the crust around this pie bird. So we're going to put that over here, and we're going to bring our apples over. And now as we do now, we just start layering our pie with the apples. No, you cannot dump them in. You have to meticulously layer them, apple by apple. You just do that like so. having a little bit of overlap on the sides. And we're going to circle this all the way around to the center of the pie bird. Once you get to the center, you'll want to make more of a mound. You want a few more apples in the center than you do along the edges. See what I did there? I was just trying to make sure that we have even disbursement of all the different types of apples in this pie. And you probably will double layer this, because we do have a lot of apples here, and that's quite alright. Now I'm going to make that bulge I was talking about. So we're going to put this bulge around the pie bird, and then we're going to work our way back to the edge. Doesn't that look pretty? If they do stack up too high, like just a little bit higher than the pie pan, that is okay. But if it gets any higher, you probably want to just leave those apples behind and eat them instead of putting them into the pie. You don't want it to be too high. Okay. I'd say that looks just about swell. That is a nice hearty apple pie filling right there, folks. And now once you're done with that, you have a few slices remaining. Like I said, you could munch them. They'll be good. And then just pour that remaining liquid over the top of the pie. Alright. Now you're ready to put the top pie crust on. Preheat your oven to 425 degrees. Now, in a similar fashion that we did with the other pie crust, we're going to cut the bag. We're going to fold this over the top of our pie and peel it off. There will be a little dent from the pie bird. You just want to break the pie bird through. There's going to be a hole in the top of the pie crust, but that is alright. Then you're just going to smooth that down into the edges. Now that you got the pie crust around here, might be some apples poking through, but that is okay. You're going to take that leftover apple juice, which you reduce to about 2 tablespoons, and just brush that over the top of this pie crust. Alright, assuming you have your bottom rack on the very bottom of the oven, you're going to put your pie onto a cookie sheet and then place that onto the very bottom of the oven to cook for about 50 minutes. Alright, 50 minutes has elapsed. This pie is looking nice and crusty on the outside, and you can see those wonderful juices just bubbling up. And that looks like a good pie, folks. It's going to taste delicious. Now, you have to let that sit there and cool for about 4 hours before you can eat it. I know it sucks, but you got to let it gel. Otherwise, it's just going to turn to mush.
Okay, I'm Curtis. I'm Jake's friend. And we're eating the pie that Jake has instructed for us. Looks very good. I actually might grab a piece. Hold on.
Curtis, are you talking?
Yes, I'm narrating.
You're narrating?
And I'm going to cop a piece with my Chinese food spoon.
How was that cup?
You have to be to go grab a, I have...
Wait, who's whale for ants, Luke? Who's that in the chat? Who's whale for ants?
That would be Noah.
Whale
Whale for ants.
Whale bird?
I have, whatchamacallit? I have chopsticks if you want me to go get those.
No, that's okay.
Apples,
I'm too busy
not
holding
out.
I actually have to, at my grandma's house, she makes me and my sister use chopsticks to get back in our culture.
Remember your roots, Curtis.
Luke, can you hold this? I kind of want to eat some pie.
I'm holding up a pie.
Damn it, I have cream.
Get me in the shot.
That, folks, is how you make apple pie.
No, I was kidding. I don't want to be in the shot.
We're filming for his
Thank you for watching a Bacon Jake Productions. Have a great day.